Most of you will know him. Young man started out working on our fire department, decided he wanted to be a police officer. Moved up to that rank, and now the Lord has called him to be a pastor. I'd like for everybody to stand for our prayer, remain standing for our pledge, and our prayer will be delivered by Reverend Jeremy Sisk.
You would bow your heads. Father, we thank you for this day and its many blessings. We're thankful for this opportunity that we have to come together. Lord, we're just thankful for this city that we've been blessed to be able to serve in. Father, we thank you for the community that rallies around its employees and rallies around us. And we just thank you so much for your protection, your love, your guidance. And Lord, we just ask that you would give these men that make decisions on behalf of the city, give them wisdom, Lord, knowledge to just seek out your will. And Lord, most of all, we just pray that they would seek out your will as well. And Father, we just ask you that as we enter into this season, Lord, that we would just have kindness and love in our hearts, and Lord, that we remember what this season is really all about, and that is the birth of our Savior. We thank you so much, Father, for your love, your mercy, your grace, and your generosity. And we just ask you again, your blessings upon this meeting. Lord, we ask for just a sweet peace to remain among everybody that's here tonight. Lord, we thank you for a safe delivery here, and we pray for a safe delivery home. And Lord, we just want to give you all the honor and praise and glory. For it's in Christ's name we humbly pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jeremy. Roll call, please.
Mayor Arnold.
Here.
Alderman Bibb.
Here.
Alderman Decker.
Here.
Alderman Hudson.
Here.
Alderman Corbett.
Here. Need to adopt the agenda, need a motion? Second. Motion second, any addition, correction? All in favor? Aye. Need to approve the minutes of the November 18th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, I need a motion? Move to approve. Second. Any corrections? All in favor? Aye. I'd like to welcome our visitors, we got a packed house. Good thing we're not having social distance. This time I'd like to call up Sergeant Joel Bristol.
Thank you, Mayor, Alderman, Mr. Herman. I'm here tonight real quick, just not taking too much of your time. I know it's an important meeting, but want to recognize one of our citizens. Officer Chris Gilmore from the Tennessee Highway Safety Office is here. He's going to kind of explain the award process that we put in for this citizen, and I'll present it to him when we're done, but it's just to bring up a little information about what the program is and how he's going to be recognized. Mr. Gilmore.
Good evening, everyone. As Joel said, I'm Chris Gilmore with the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. I'm the Middle Tennessee Law Enforcement Liaison. For a lack of better terms, that's just how we represent how the state's broken up for the law enforcement side from our office. The award that we have tonight is called Saved by the Belt. It's here, it's given to, or was enacted to recognize individuals who are potentially saved by wearing their seatbelts. Currently, the seatbelt usage rate in Tennessee is 90.12%. That seems pretty good. We like it when we're over 90% in about anything we do. In school grades, that would be an A. But unfortunately for us in Tennessee, that number's been falling. It's fell over the last 5 years. And two of the largest categories that we have that are contributing factors to fatal crashes in Middle Tennessee, which is the area I'm responsible for, first being speed and second being lack of seatbelt use. So far this year, there have been 236 fatalities in the Middle Tennessee area, with 753 seriously injured occupants. In Sumner County alone, I can't break down because all of ours are just county related, but in Sumner County there have been 66 serious injury crashes and 16 fatalities. And we track those things at the Highway Safety Office, and the importance of this is to identify individuals whose lives are saved or injuries were significantly reduced because they were wearing their safety belt or protected by airbags and safety restraint devices in their vehicle at the time of a crash. This program is documented evidence. We take documented evidence from information from police reports, and someone nominates this person or persons for wearing their safety belt. And we do not award this award to individuals who were the causing factor of the crash. It's strictly for the ones who were doing what they were supposed to do, and were not called, didn't have those dangerous driving behaviors like speed and other things. So, I'm gonna let Joel, talk about the situation for the crash, because from the state standpoint, that's not something we get into. We don't come out and investigate you all's crashes, that's their job, but, we do like to recognize that, and we like to raise awareness when we can and where we can, whether it be from the teenagers all the way up to the senior drivers. We want people to all wear their seatbelts. So, Joel, you wanna tell them a little bit about the crash?
Sure. On October 31st, 2021, at approximately 12:15 hours in nighttime, Mr. Whitehurst was traveling northbound right here on 31W, approaching the intersection of Highway 76. As he's approaching the intersection, he's working an off-duty job, delivering pizzas for, I believe it's Pizza Hut. A gentleman comes off of Highway 76 with no headlights on and hit his car so hard that he ended up on the front steps right here by City Hall, which was approximately, I did the measurement, 321 feet. That's how hard he was hit. Mr. Whitehurst, if he didn't have his seatbelt on, he was sitting in the driver's side, he wouldn't be here right now, because he would have got ejected from his car, there's no question with the impact. So I thought it'd be nice to put him in for the award, and I appreciate y'all letting me present it to him here in the public. But Mr. Walter Whitehurst,
I want to say one thing too. I did not know this coming in. Even when we did the award, I actually know their daughter from high school. I was in the SRO world before I moved over to the Highway Safety Office, and our youngest daughter, my wife's here with me tonight. Our youngest daughter and their daughter actually wrestle on the state girls wrestling team together. I saw the name, but had no idea that you would be the one getting this tonight. So
if you would come up, I'm going to present with the award. Thank you. Here's your one. Let me turn around and get a picture of this real quick. Thank you. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
thank you all very much.
Congratulations. And
Thank you.
And an interesting piece also with some of the data that we keep up with, and I don't want to keep you all's time, but some of the things that we track, we do track times of days and days of the week and things like that when these things occur. And I noticed something tonight looking at you all's data. Normally for Tennessee, or for Middle Tennessee area, I would say that most of our most dangerous times to be on the road, based off of the data we collect, are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's a little unique here in White House in Sumner County. It's actually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So the data, it's interesting when things like this happen, how data shows something different for different areas. So thank you all for what you all do, and I want to thank the police department for what they do.
thank you for coming out to White House. Can I get Mandy Christensen to come up here, please? You're in trouble.
I need to go to the principal's office. I know.
I have a proclamation here for Ms. Christensen. And this really comes from the heart. And I'm gonna read it to you. Whereas Ms. Mandy Christensen has served the White House community since June 17, 2014 as the White House Area Chamber of Commerce's CEO and President. And whereas the City of White House celebrated the 50th anniversary of incorporation in 2021 with events throughout the year such as the logo reveal on January 21st, birthday party on April 24th, Americana celebration on July 10th, evening with the arts benefit, the White House Inn Museum, and Christmas Parade, and Christmas on Main Street on December 4th. Whereas Mrs. Mandy Christensen provided leadership, creativity, and stabilizing influence for these events, and whereas Mrs. Christensen has been a team player for the City of White House by always participating in the city's annual events such as the White House Farmers Market, Trail of Treats, and the Fall Family Block Party, just to name a few. And whereas Mrs. Mandy Christensen has an impressive and endless history of accomplishments as the White House Area Chamber of Commerce's CEO and President, and now therefore, we want to express our sincere appreciation for the many contributions Mrs. Mandy Christensen has made to our community during 2021 to help celebrate the city's 50th anniversary of incorporation. The City of White House offers an uncommon thank you. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of White House to be affixed on this 16th day of September, 2021. Thank you, Mandy. Public hearings. Resolution 2117 is a resolution to annex certain territories and incorporate same within the corporate boundaries of the city of White House, Tennessee. I'll open that public hearing, and I have one person signed up to speak, Ms. Nicole Taylor. Should we suspend the rules, or you just want to let her speak? She doesn't live in the city limits. Is everybody okay with her speaking? Yeah. Okay. Nicole, come on up.
So the Callista Farms property that is going to have 355 homes has already been approved through the Planning Commission once, through the Planning Commission twice. It's already passed here 2 months ago. Nothing I say today is going to change that. Absolutely nothing. There's going to be 1,000 homes in a half a mile on my 2-lane road. And what I'm here today to say, especially to you, Mr. Herman, is thank you. Because when I showed up at a planning commission meeting, and after the meeting I spoke out, Mr. Herman looked at me and he said, someone like you shows up and you get things stirred up and then you'll go away. And maybe someone else will show up. And he's right, because when the parks went up for a vote, 200 people spoke out. Didn't matter. Nobody cared what they had to say. They didn't live in city limits, even though all around them was going to be annexed. And what I've discovered over the course of paying attention to what's going on in the city is that I'm a peasant. What I say, what I think, means nothing to anyone who sits up here. And I know why, because I spent the last 6 months looking at disclosure statements and property records. And it's fascinating to me who sits on the board, the planning commission, and where they own property, and what's built around them versus what's built around me. I'm about to have 1,000 houses. Mr. Herman, you don't live here. The mayor sold his property. Mr. Bibb, when do you have to drive down Callista or drop your kids off at school? Mr. Decker, it kind of looks like you're going to have beautiful green space behind your house. I'm not. I'm not. I'm losing everything down my road. My children are not going to grow up in a small town because in the course of 5 years, the city of White House will double. There are over 4,000 residences, just single family residences, either approved or about to be approved. My road, every time I go home, I have to stop because it's down to 1 lane, waiting for dump trucks, trusses. They tear up the road, they put it back. That's not going to get better. My children will not learn to drive on a 2-lane country road that only has a few houses. It's going to have over 1,000. The Callista Farms developers offered $500,000 to the city for sidewalks. I guess that's the price of my family, so thank you. You seem to want to turn White House into Hendersonville or Franklin or wherever it is that you think this city needs to be. And the kicker is, not one of you will have to live with the consequences. None of you will have to drive your kids to school and sit in the line. None of you will have to try and get home on Callista not being able to turn off a Wilkinson. All of your kids are grown and they're gone and they don't live here. So this small town that you got to raise your families in will no longer exist. So I'm done. You win. Thank you for letting me know that the only way to have anything done or to do anything is to own property or to be in some sort of real estate. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I have one more too. Sam Matthews.
I want to thank everyone on the board. I've spoke here a few times. I know many of you have served for several years on the board, some of you for decades. And we appreciate your service to the city. We know that your job is hard. We know that a lot of times it can be thankless also. So I want to let you guys know that we appreciate what you do, not only the board, but the staff also. You have an excellent staff. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition of both the annexation and the rezoning of the Calista Farms subdivision. Our primary complaint, as Nikki was speaking about, is traffic volume. We've talked a little bit to the Planning Commission about traffic volume. I don't know, I sent Mr. Corbin a letter, I believe during the last meeting. One of the things we addressed was that in 2019, the average daily traffic count for station 172, which is located on Wilkinson Lane. If you guys don't know where they placed that, it's a sensor they use. They put it right in the parking lot of Robert F. Woodall. It is north of the second entrance of Walmart. It is not catching the Walmart traffic. That sensor is showing that we are getting 7,343 cars per day on Wilkinson Lane. Wilkinson Lane is classified and has been classified for years as a residential collector. We spoke with a traffic engineer, a very well experienced traffic engineer. One of the things he told us to look at is the daily counts on that road, not the actual traffic impact studies. The impact studies only evaluate intersections. They evaluate the time a car waits at an intersection and how long it takes to move through that intersection. They don't evaluate safety. They don't evaluate livability either. So for a residential connector road, and this is pretty much a standard, you can go to several other cities, the average count that should be on a residential connector or collector is between 2,500 and 5,000 cars. So that road is already exceeding what traffic engineers look at as a standard for a residential collector road. By far. And it shows. Mr. Bibb lives off of that road. He certainly could see the increased traffic, and we feel it. We hear the noise. The noise is absolutely horrible. So when these traffic impact studies are done, they're not looking at livability. They're only looking at the queue at the intersections. We can go on and talk a little bit about the traffic study that was performed by the developer. Regardless of that, we're already over capacity for livability. We brought this up during the Planning Commission. One of the things that, and you guys are well aware of this, the Planning Commission is administrative in nature. If they deny a rezoning request, they have to have what's called findings of fact, okay? So we presented to them findings of fact. One of the things that the developer did not account for is when they did the traffic study, the traffic engineer left out 4 major subdivisions. They left out Concord Springs, which isn't finished yet. They left out the fields at Oakwood Legacy, which is not completed. And they left out an additional subdivision on Pinson Lane that has not been completed yet, actually 2. And then there's a subdivision that's being built in between Cross Plains and White House that was not included. In addition to that, the traffic engineer did not measure the intersection of Wilkinson Lane and Calista. That is a major intersection. How could they not perform a analysis of that intersection? It's beyond me. I would guess, I may be speculating, they performed it. It probably failed miserably, especially between, say, 4 to 6 o'clock in the evening when the traffic is coming back the other way. I would say it failed. They go pull their raw data, you'll see whether or not they did it. They should log it. They should have an audit trail. So again, why did our, and I know we have a city engineer, why did they not catch these things? I'm untrained. I looked at the report for 30 minutes or less and caught those immediately. We should have caught those and addressed them with the developer. $500,000 has also been proposed to widen Callista Road. If you look at page 49 of the traffic study, the developer's traffic engineer recommended not widening it. And the reason they recommended not widening it is because it will increase the speed of traffic. And that's well known. You may be able to do other things to channel down the speed, but widening that road and adding sidewalks will actually make it more dangerous for that area. It's a low density area. So, you know, the development in itself we feel is too large for the approved developments that are already there. We have Jackson Farms, which is 450 units. We have two other developments that are 200. So that is 850 houses. We have another 350 in addition to that. So like Nikki was saying, we're getting closer to probably 1,200 homes, which, again, if you look at that traffic study, it's based on projections from the past 10 years, not the next 10 years forward. So that study is going to be horribly wrong. And who's going to have to pay for the upgrades to the roads? The city's going to. Again, we talked about noise. We've addressed this several times here. I've spoke to Chief Brady a little bit about this. I was here yesterday. We came over for the IDB meeting. I think it got moved to next month. I was out. There's two kids playing basketball out here. They were at the gym. Their cars sounded like probably louder than Andy Kirby's Bush car that I used to go see race. They were loud. I can't see how those cars are on a city road. I know it's hard because of the volume here, but we get a lot of that noise up and down our roads. I'm sure you guys that live here, if you live on a major road, we get it. It affects us. You know, it's not just a nuisance. If you go down to Vanderbilt, you can talk to some really smart professors. They will tell you why noise is important. It affects chronic health, especially in our senior community. It's known to have consequential impact to their health, chronic noise over time. And that's what we're getting here, just like you would in a big city. These houses, when they were built, I can go to my office in Nashville, and I have helicopters landing beside me, and I can't hear those helicopters because of the noise, the way the building's designed. The houses around here, you can hear the noise. There's things that you could do to it at the airport. They go through and improve houses around the runways. So obviously that's a problem for us. We also, just for the record, would like to state, you know, we talked about increases in crime. Right now, crime is low here. However, you know, with the increased density, it could rise. Also, infrastructure costs. It's $2 per square foot at the county level. What they're paying, we're seeing $7 million, maybe close to $8 million, going in for the South Main Line project that's coming in. Spending $8 million on the sewer treatment plant. It looks like another $495. It looks like there's an amendment to that budget tonight. Price is going up for everything. We know that. And also, and I think everybody knows this, residential development is tax negative. I mean, it's pretty well known. The land use attorney that we have, he says he sees it all the time. He goes into cities, they approve tons of houses, it tears their budget apart. Commercial pays much more. I know there's a balance between those two, but residential development overall is tax negative for a city and a county. So I'm not going to come up here with just problems. What can we do about this? And I'll try to move on. You know, carefully evaluating developments of our roads that especially exceed volumes of recommended daily traffic, not based on traffic study. It has to look on livability also.
Mr. Matthews, are you speaking on both these public hearings?
Yes,
Because you had
six,
3
six,
minutes, so I'll
6
go ahead.
minutes total,
Okay.
please. Also, you know, one of the things that I've studied some other best practices. I would highly recommend that the city bring on an on-call traffic engineer. I think it would be invaluable to the city. It may run $100,000, maybe $150,000 a year. But I think that is gonna be our biggest problem, I think, for the city. And it would be well worth the money. There are firms, I know there's a firm in Franklin, Tennessee that has on-call traffic engineers. They can look at these traffic impact studies, they can assist with our traffic planning, and they can actually do the studies at the expense of the developers if you would like them to. We also could look at using what's called instead of evaluating our traffic piecemeal by each traffic study that comes out, you can pay to have a comprehensive traffic study done. And then once that traffic study's done, they'll put it into a system. Basically, it'll build your traffic model for you. And then when you have a new development come in, you can take that data and implant it into the system or the model. And it will show you not only at the intersections that you're evaluating, it'll show you upstream and downstream how it affects you. If you look at the state of Pennsylvania, it's required by state law that they do that, and some other cities are starting to pick up on that. And it's a pretty neat model. It's just you're trying to prevent problems before they happen. Also, I think it might be good for us to also have an adequate facility fee for the city on top of our impact fee. The impact fees that you guys are well aware of only go towards the developments that are being built and typically around them most of the time, like the sidewalks that we're seeing being put in around these developments and the upgrades to some of the roads. With adequate facility fees, it's my understanding that that money could be spread out over all of the city to help address costs associated with growth. So it won't target just one development or developer. It can be spread out across the city. And also develop an ordinance related to noise for motor vehicles and strictly enforce it. I think Goatsville implemented one about 6 months ago. They have the same problems we do. Well, I've addressed some of the technical issues. Now I would like to address the politics behind.
Mr. Matthews, your time is up.
Okay.
I appreciate you have some very good ideas, very well spoken. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Ordinance 21, I'll close the public hearing. Ordinance 2127 is an ordinance to amend the zoning map from R15 medium family in Robeson County agricultural to suburban residential plan unit development on Callista Road. I'll open that hearing, and Mr. Matthews already spoke on that, so we'll close it. Ordinance 2128 is an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, Article 2, Section 2.020, definitions in Article 4, Section 4.203, development standards for campgrounds. We'll open that hearing. I have no one to speak. We will close it. Ordinance 2129, an ordinance amending the fiscal budget for the period ending June 30th, 2022. We'll open that hearing. I have no one to speak. We will close it. Communication. Alderman Corbett.
Nothing from me, Mayor.
Alderman Hudson.
I'd just like to commend Mandy and Jerry and all the city employees and stuff that we pulled off the Christmas parade. I thought it was one of the better ones we'd ever had. I really think it was the best one we've ever had. Ton of kids. I mean, seeing all the little kids just warms your heart.
Agreed. Vice Mayor Bill.
I have to echo that same. And I think this was the best Christmas parade we've ever had.
Alderman Decker.
I'm good.
City Administrator.
Yes, sir, I do have a few things I'd like to share with you. The soccer complex construction is almost finished. All that's left is some fencing and some final grading. The town center water line construction is still progressing. The pipe in the ground is nearly to the Webb Sanders office building. They're telling me they're probably gonna get there by Friday. We had a debriefing today on the 50th anniversary Christmas parade and programming, and staff was very pleased with the event, and like all of you, I want to thank the staff for all what they did to make that thing happen, and all the people that participated, all of you here that came and participated in that event. We are nearing completion of the new city community center. The contractor would like to get substantial completion by the end of January. My projection is that could be February or middle of March before we can occupy the building, have ribbon cutting. We worked with the contractor to leave us a 2-foot square opening in the middle of the outdoor patio to insert the time capsule that we got to fill at the Christmas event. We're having a granite top made for its covering and plan on interment at the ribbon cutting. We would encourage the public to read the department reports online at our website. There is much to gain by reading about all the activities and the status of many projects happening around the city and in the region. We were saddened to hear about and see the devastation of property and loss of life from the heavy storms this past week in our region. 15 tornadoes touched down in Middle Tennessee the night of December 10th and into the early morning hours of the 11th. Hendersonville sustained heavy damage, and they did reach out to us for assistance. I want to thank Andy and our Public Services Department. They did respond with equipment and personnel to assist with removal of debris. I'll let you know, Mayor Clary personally thanked me yesterday at a meeting for our assistance. Said he did provide lunch for the guys, so I got lunch from him. We were glad that we were not in the tornado path and were able to assist our neighboring city. And I guess last I didn't write it down, but Jeremy, I want to thank you. I know you've spent 2.5 decades working for the city and in public safety, and we appreciate all that you've done for us all these years. And I hope we can have you up here maybe to say a few prayers for us in the future in some of our meetings. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Need to acknowledge our reports.
Move to bid, knowledge and file.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consideration of following resolutions. Resolution 2118, whereas PCA 6-51-102 requires that a plan of service be adopted by the governing body of a city prior to passage of a resolution annexing any area. Need a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion second. Discussion.
This is the annexation of the 34 acres on Callista Road. We got the plan of services approved by the Planning Commission with the school discussion and Planning Commission with the $500,000 contribution from the developer, as well as 3 phases of improvements to be made along Callista, which are before you. Excuse me. They are the improvements from Wilkerson to Bill Moss, Concord Springs to Bill Moss, and then from Indian Ridge up to Wilkerson. They're to be done in phases over the next 3 years to accommodate the traffic volume that will be placed on Callista.
It's required for any development, for us to adopt a plan of services for all developments.
Yes.
It's rather routine, it's mundane, it's sewer and.
Yeah, in most cases, it doesn't have the added stipulation. It's just, yeah, this particular one was it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2117, a resolution to annex certain territories and incorporate same within the corporate boundaries of the city of White House, Tennessee. I need a motion.
I move to approve. Second.
Motion second. Discussion.
Same as I mentioned before on the particular project, Callista Farms. There will be a total of 305 units on this property. Staff has reviewed all necessary documents, traffic study, and everything encompassing site plan, and the preliminary, this is the preliminary. We have made a recommendation of approval based on our comprehensive plan.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Bebb.
Aye.
Alderman Corbett.
No.
Alderman Decker.
Aye.
Alderman Hudson.
Aye.
Mayor Arnold.
Aye. Resolution 2120, a resolution ratifying proposed amendments to the Sumner County Comprehensive Growth Plan, reporting the same to the Local Government Planning Advisory Committee. Motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second.
what they wanted to do was update their growth plan for the county. They wanted to look at areas that needed to extend or reduce their growth areas for the different cities. So City of White House was not gonna extend, any further than what was already there from before, because it's basically a 20-year growth plan. They expect that you would fill out that area in 20 years, which we certainly have not. Mainly on when you have to look at it, we're talking Sumner County side of our county, getting out, we have a little bit area that goes up 76, up towards Walnut Grove. But that's about it. So we didn't change ours. There was a little bit of, movement on I think Westmoreland stayed the same, and so did Portland. Goodlettsville made a few changes to theirs to expand their growth boundary area into the county, and then Hendersonville and Gallatin, they extended theirs, and they did a little bit of a swapping of theirs. But there's a process that they have to go through before they can get it approved by the state. And two of the things that we had to, the mayors at some of the meetings that we went to, I know that CGIS was involved in some of the meetings. I know I personally went to the October 5th and the November 4th public hearings that they had, and the vote that we had for that to go ahead and get it approved. So this resolution needs to get sent, once it gets approved by this board, it will get sent back to Sumner County so they can submit it to the state. And that'll be it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2121, a resolution approving certain amendments and revisions to the personnel manual. Need a motion?
Move it, please.
For a second.
Second.
Amanda.
Yes, sir, thank you. We only had a few changes that needed to be made to the personnel manual. As you know, I only like to come to you twice a year with these. One of the changes was in the outside employment section. The language in that was a little ambiguous, so we decided to clean that up and make it clear when that form needs to be submitted by before they can start work at a second employment. In the tuition assistance program, as we have been using this program over the last year, several things have come up that we wanted to add in for clarification, such as what types of proof for grades, which would be the unofficial transcripts, and if any student receives a refund directly from the school, that money needs to be returned to the city. I would assume all of our employees would do this, but I just wanted to make sure that it was actually written in the personnel manual that way. Under section 7.4, use of city vehicles and equipment, the fire chief requested that we add the fire inspector to the approved individuals who have a take-home vehicle. That way he doesn't have to come to City Hall or to the fire station to get his vehicle in case he has a callback. And then the only change that I made on the tuition assistance program application form was to add a course start and end date section so that Gretchen or I know when to reach out to our employees who are taking part in this to request their grades from them.
All right, good work, Amanda.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2122, a resolution to join the state of Tennessee and other local governments as participants in the Tennessee State Subdivision opioid abatement agreement and approving the related settlement agreements. Need a motion?
Move we approve.
Second.
Second.
I'll let Valerie, we talk about this a little bit, thank you, because her law firm has worked on this for us, because it's amazing. Well, go ahead and explain it, Valerie.
These are just lawsuits for, opioid, against the pharmaceutical companies that have, are manufacturing and not giving all the information about, how opioids affected people when doctors are prescribing them. And so this just permits the city, to the extent that any money comes to the state, to allow us to participate in it.
A lot of people dying over this.
Thanks, Pat. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Consideration of the following ordinances: ordinance 2127, an ordinance to amend the zoning map from R15 medium family in Robertson County agricultural to suburban residential planning unit development on Calista Road. This is second reading. I need a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. CJIS.
This is the same project, adjacent to the annexation. It will be incorporated with 305 units. Of course, remember, this was, I think I mentioned this before, it was approved for 400 units, and I had that canceled because the plan had expired. So this is that same property.
Okay. Roll call.
Alderman Bebb.
Aye.
Alderman Corbett.
No.
Alderman Decker.
Aye.
Alderman Hudson.
Aye.
Mayor Arnold.
Aye. Ordinance 2128, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, Article 2, Section 2.0, Article 4, Section 4.203, Development Standards for Campgrounds. Second reading, I need a motion.
Move we approve.
For a second.
Second.
Okay, Cephas?
Last meeting, you guys asked to put some more clarity in whether this would, with the permanent pendings or to prevent any permanent stay. So I added some language that said that no permanent structure would be attached to a trail.
These are for like for bed and breakfast and as well as campground.
Well, it's just a campground standard. Our bed and breakfast we already have a short-term rental,
Okay.
Bed and breakfast standard.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Bibb.
Aye.
Alderman Corbett.
Aye.
Alderman Decker.
Aye.
Alderman Hudson. Mayor Arnold.
Aye. Ordinance 2129 is an ordinance amending the fiscal budget period ending June 30th, 2022. Second reading, I need a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
Second.
Jason?
This amendment is in regards to the American Rescue Plan Act grant that we received for the library. At the time that we did our budget, we weren't awarded that grant, so we have since been awarded that grant, so now we need to add money to the expenditures to be able to spend the money related to that grant. So that's what the purpose of this amendment is for.
Even when we did the budget, we didn't even know we were gonna be applying for that grant, I believe, at that time.
I don't
Sounds
think,
right.
I think that's correct.
All right. Any questions?
No, Elizabeth does a great job chasing down every dollar she can get, so good job.
All right, roll call.
Alderman Bibb.
Aye.
Alderman Corbett.
Aye.
Alderman Decker.
Aye.
Alderman Hudson. Mayor Arnold.
Aye. Ordinance 2130 is an ordinance to amend the zoning map from R10 Residential High Density District to C6 Town Center Commercial District on Portland Road. First reading, I need a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
Second.
Cephas?
Like, this is at the intersection of Portland Road and Tyree. As you're looking straight across at Tyree, the applicant's requesting to rezone from R10 to the C6 zone. As you know, R10 is the 10,000 square foot zoning, and C6 encompasses what our town center zoning is. It's C6 on both sides of the property, so it only made sense to recommend this rezoning. And there should be a sketch of what he intends to do in the packet.
It's on page 96, if you wanted to take a look at it, it looks like 12 single-family homes. Next page, on page 96. Right. That's what it looks like.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Purchasing items, to approve or reject the purchase of 4 Sharp MX 5071 copiers from Sourcewell Cooperative Contract number 030321 RCH in the amount of $29,635. The Administrative Services Director recommends approval. I need a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second.
Basically, Mayor, this is a part of the new building going in, and as you know, we'll bring things to you that are over the $25,000 cap that we are required to bring to you. And this particular purchase is that basically each department will have one of these copiers in their area of work.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To approve or reject an amendment to the professional services agreement with Jacobs Engineering for engineering services in the wastewater treatment plant project in the amount of $439,185. Andy recommends approval. I need a motion.
I move we approve.
For a second.
Second.
The increase is because we had 3 additional modifications in the construction services, one being the drip removal system. We had some outfall modifications and UV disinfection. And if my memory serves me correctly, it was actually our 4th modification with the dual impeller design, which is supposed to help us have better process control and save some energy costs all long term. And there were some newly acquired SRF requirements that we weren't aware of, and then 2 additional years beyond the original schedule date, so we're kind of over that. And
feels is a fair price. We negotiated with Jacobs, they've always been there for us. So they came down almost $200,000 on the original cost to help us, complete this project.
Any discussions on the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is it, this is it.
I hope so.
Jacobs, is this it? This is it.
Thank you, Andy.
Like your
Yes, sir,
strong
thank you.
faces, we don't like to see you in the crowds.
Other business, to approve or reject the results of the financial audit completed by Kraft CPAs for the year ending June 30th, 2021. Jason recommends approval. I need a motion.
You would approve.
Second. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, sir.
Once again, good job, Jason.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To approve or reject authorizing City Administrator Gerald Herman entering into an agreement with Robertson County Board of Education and Robertson County, Tennessee for a road extension from White House Heritage High School to Pinson Lane. City Administrator recommends approval. I need a motion.
Move approved.
Second.
Second.
Yes, sir, this is a project that we came up with, speaking with city engineer and planner and trying to find a quicker resolution to get folks that live in the subdivisions that are being built behind Heritage High School and some that are near that area to get into the school in a safe manner without having to go out to the two major intersections at Pleasant Grove Road and Newhall Cross Plains Road. As we know that Cross Plains Road is not in our city, but it's a very dangerous intersection. So we had meetings with Dr. Costi from the Director of Schools, and he thought it would be a great idea if the city could assist in doing that. So we put this in gear and we developed a memorandum of understanding with the county attorney. Once they got that worked out, the school board had a study session at 6 o'clock Monday night. Jason and I were zoomed into that meeting, and we had a good discussion about the road. Some of the things that they're already thinking about, how it's gonna benefit the kids coming in. They're gonna be able to close it at certain times of the day with a gate to make, so there's not just continuous flow of traffic going through their school parking area, which we think is a great idea that they wanna do that. They see opportunities for football games. They see opportunities for changing their bus routes. They have the buses going out that way. They go into those neighborhoods to collect the kids to bring them back in through that back way. It's safer for their bus drivers and not to go out those intersections. As you know, we're, 76 intersection, 76 improvements are on, they're on the list with TDOT, and it's just gonna take a while. I mean, the MPO shows our completion date is 2035 before that road would be complete, and we just know that it's gonna be a while. So, that's why we felt like this was a better action for us to get this done, and the school board did approve it at their meeting at 7 o'clock that evening, and then, if we get this approval tonight, I'll go to the Robertson County Board, Commissions on Monday night and ask if they have any questions, but they'll have to approve it too, because the property does belong to Robertson County. So that's all I have in here.
And this is our expense, we're paying for the road,
Yeah,
right?
yes, sir, we put this in the budget this year that we would take care of that cost.
Is there something that maybe hindsight that we could have had the developers take care of? It sounds like part of the problem is all the homes back there.
Well, the developer put in the Pinson Lane. I mean, they put about $1.5 million, almost $2 million into rebuilding that road and with the utilities and that. That's why, to add that extra extension wasn't requested of them at that time.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
To approve or reject 2022-23 budget calendar. Need a motion?
Move approved.
Second.
Second.
Pretty self-explanatory. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
To approve or reject 2022 Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting calendar. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have no discussion items, no other information, adjourned.